Hey everyone, welcome to this lesson. So in this final project, we're going to build something absolutely cool, and that is a total bill calculator. So the idea with this is that, you can create a program that you're going to give it the bill. Like let's say you go to a restaurant and you just want to split the bill between like a few people, and you want to see how much each one of you pay based on the tip and everything else. So it's a pretty handy thing, and again, I think would be a really cool use of everything that we've learned so far. So we can just put it all in one and build something pretty simple like this. So here's an example of it. As you can see, it asks you for the total bill. I'm just gonna put, let's say 150, and it's gonna say what percentage tip would you like to give. I'm gonna say maybe 15, for example. Let's say 18, and then how many people would you like to split the bill with? So let's say I'm going to split it with 4 people or 5 people. All right, so then it's going to give us this result, which is going to say each person should pay $35.40. Pretty simple, right? But again, there are a few mathematical calculations here and a few other things that, for example, you want to figure out. For example, one of the things is that you need to get the percentage, and you need to actually turn this into a percentage. So there are a few different ways to do this. So that's one of the things I want you to figure out. And also, like a lot of conversion here is data type conversion here that we have involved. All right. So with that being said, make sure you get started. The link to this Replit file is in the resources section. You can just click that. You can fork it for yourself, and that's going to give you access to the initial project file. Essentially, it's just going to give you some instructions on how do you do this. Again, very simple stuff. You just have to ask for some information and get started. So what I want you to do, again, this can be a little bit confusing, especially when you when you need to get the percentage and like calculate that percentage. So I want you to just try it for yourself first before you watch me do it. All right, just have a run at it, see how you do, and if you're stuck, then you actually come and watch this video. So pause the video, try it out for yourself, and after that we'll start. All right, guys, so how did you do? Let's see, let's see if you actually got this right. If you got it, if you just, if you figured it out, congratulations. Seems like you're learning very well. And if you didn't, it's completely fine. You can just watch me do it, and we will just go on with this. All right, so let's get started. So the way you do this is that the first thing you want to do is obviously, I got an empty here. There you go. So I got the empty file here. So the first thing you want to do is obviously let's write a message, right? So that should be really simple. So we're just going to say print welcome to the tip calculator. Here we go. So that's our first message, or let's actually make it this way, right? Make it more interesting. All right. So the first thing we want to get is the total amount of the total bill, essentially, right? So I'm just going to define a variable, right? And we're going to call this total, and we're going to receive an input from the user, right? Input, and we're going to say what was the total bill amount in dollars. So I'm going to put the dollars, so when it actually shows up in the console, it's going to have the dollar sign. So people don't put the dollar sign in there, right? That's the idea. So like, for example, if I run this, it's going to get that, and it's going to have the dollar sign. So that way, people don't put a dollar sign here, like something like this. So that would actually confuse, that would just cause a lot of problems. So, so here we go. We got the dollar sign. We got our input and asking for the total bill amount. Cool. But again, if you remember, this is a string. All inputs are strings, right? So we want to turn it to a float. That's very important because this is the dollar amount, or like a money amount, essentially. And what you want to remember is that there are always decimal points with money, right? So you definitely want to turn it into a float. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to say float, and we're going to open a parentheses and add one by the end of it. And just like that, we turn this into a float. Perfect. So we got the first data that we need. So let's go ahead and do the second one. So the second one is we're going to receive the tip. Basically, what's the tip percentage, right? So I'm going to define a new variable called a tip, and we're going to say input, same thing, okay? I'm going to ask what percentage tip would you like to give? You know, and I'm going to give some examples. I'm going to tell you why. So like the thing is that when you want people to enter this, let me just go here. So when you want people to enter this, you don't want them to enter the percentage like this, all right? Because again, that's gonna cause issues. So you want them to like enter the actual whole number here, and for that, I'm going to like give them examples. That's why I'm doing this, right? So again, I'm just like letting you know that's why I'm actually putting this, right? Putting these examples to just kind of provide some sort of example. And same as before, we're gonna turn this into a float. Now, generally, you know, this is a percentage. You can actually use an integer too if you want. Either way, it's really the same thing in this case at least. But I'm just going to go with the float to just keep everything same. So we're just going to turn this into a float, making sure that we got this under a float. But again, you can use an integer as well. It is completely up to you. So that's our float. Cool. All right, so we got the second one. So now let's get the next data, which is how many people, right? So I'm just going to define another one called as people, a variable. And in this case, again, we're going to ask for an input again. And I'm going to ask how many people to split the bill. Here we go. So in this case, again, because we are like asking for the number of people, obviously you don't have 1.5 people or like 3.5 people or something like that. So in this case, we're going to use the integer, right? So we're going to turn this to an integer, making sure we got an integer here. Perfect. So we got that going on. And with that being said, let's get started and process some data here. So we got all the information that we need from the user. So it's time to actually put it to use. The first thing we want to do is actually figure out the tip percentage. So this is a very important thing, and there are a lot of different ways to do this. And if you actually decided to do this practice before you watch the rest of this video, I'm sure you might have come up with a different way to do this. Again, I just want to point this out. There are a lot of different ways to do the same thing in programming. So there is really no wrong way as long as the program works really, right? So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to just do it in a way that it's just completely laid out so you understand it, right? But I'm going to actually show the fast way as well so you can just take a look at it. But I'm going to do the easy way, like the more explained strategy, right? So the way I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new, I'm going to open a variable or make a new variable, call this tip percentage or tip percent. How about that? Just keep it clean. Tip percent, and I'm going to call this what we need to do is figure out the percent of this tip. So if someone entered the number 10, we need to turn that 10 into 10%, right? Or 0.10 essentially. That is a percentage, right? So I'm going to say tip divided by 100. So the idea with this is that if someone enters a 20, we're going to take that and divide it by 100, which is going to give us 0.20. That's going to give us this number. So that's basically the number we're looking for, the percentage, right? Percent. So then we're going to say total tip. So that's what we need to do is we need to figure out, okay, what is the actual total tip amount in dollars, right? So I'm going to say for this, it's very simple. We're going to say total, right? The total bill times tip percentage. So total tip is gonna equal total the bill amount times tip percent. Now the final thing is the total bill equals total, that's the total bill amount, plus the total tip. Here we go. So again, I just want to explain this real quick exactly what we did here, guys, is that first we actually defined this variable and said the tip or the whatever percentage that the user entered, we're going to turn this, make this and, divided by 100. That way we get the percentage amount. So that's going to give us like 10, 15 per 20%, like 0.20 essentially, right? And then we took that and multiplied it by the actual total bill. So that's going to give us the dollar amount of the tip that we're giving, right? And then when we got the dollar amount of the tip, we took that and defined a new variable and took the total bill and added it to the dollar amount of the tip that we're supposed to give based on that tip, right? Based on the total bill. So now we got that information and we're ready to go. So we got our total bill. So very simple, right? Now, another thing I'd like to point out is there is a different way to do this, a much easier way. And this is just something that you can do as you become just better. But, you know, just something to point out. You could actually go about it pretty much like this. You could just say total and divide or multiply that by 1 plus tip divided by 100. So the idea with this would be, you know, again, like would be something like this. So the idea with this is that you take the total amount, but like if you remember, we talked about like the, you know, parentheses and the way Python actually calculates or operates the mathematical formulas. When you actually are subtracting something, dividing something, adding something, the first thing that this thing looks at is in the parentheses. So it's going to look at the parentheses and it's going to solve this. And the first thing that you see in the parentheses is a division, divide, right? So it's going to take this tip and divide it by 100. So it's going to basically do what we did here. And then it's going to add this to it. Essentially, again, that's just like 1 point, for example, 16, you know, something like that. So then it's going to take that number, take this entire number and multiply it by the total number, which is pretty much going to give us this. So guys, again, just a lot of different ways to actually do this. But in this case, I just wanted to make it really easier for you so you can actually see the process step by step. So anyways, we got the total bill here. So that's the total plus the total tip, right? The total bill. Now the next step is to just get the total per person, right? So I'm just going to define a new variable. I'm just going to say total per person equals total bill and divided by people, right? Again, we got the people number. So people, there you go. Perfect. So that's what we got going on. All right, so we got that, and one of the things that you want to remember, let me actually tell you something. So one of the things you want to remember is that now when we get this total amount, total per person, what's going to happen is that this is going to be a really weird long number, right? If you remember, we talked about floating numbers. We're going to have a lot of decimal points. So let me actually just print it for you and actually show it to you. All right, let's print this number. Let's print this. So we're going to use an F string, right? And I'm going to say each person should pay. So let's set a dollar amount and let's curly brackets and let's put the total per person. There you go. And close the curly brackets and there you go. So let's test it out. All right. So let's just use some really simple numbers. So we're going to say the total bill was $100. And what percentage tip would you like to give? We're going to say 20. All right. So how many people would you like to split the bill? 6, for example. So the reason I'm choosing 6 is because I wanted to spit out a very easy number. Okay. So I actually noticed a problem with the spelling here as well. 6. So that should give us 20, right? So this is easy, right? But if you actually get into the more complicated numbers, for example, let's say 100. Actually, let's do it one more time because I want to create a more random number. For example, $172 is $4 and let's say 54 cents, for example. And we're going to put, let's say 18% for the tip. And how many people would you like to split the bill? 5, for example. See, we got this $41, but we got a weird number here. Take a look, 19 cents, and it's just like so many numbers. So we obviously got to round this out. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to say final total per person equals, we're going to say round, right? Again, if you remember, we used the round function, and we're going to say total per person, and we're going to say rounded up to 2 decimal points. So now if you actually get this, we are going to get the nice clean number. But before we do that, let's actually fix this stuff so it doesn't look bad. So there we go. We got this spelling issue. And we're just gonna keep this clean. All right. So example 10, something like that. All right. So now let's run this one more time and take a look at it. What was the total bill amount? Let's say $184.52. What percentage would you like to give? Let's say we're gonna say like 19%. And how many people would you like to split the bill? I still don't like the way this looks. We'll fix that. How many people would you like to split the bill? We're gonna say 6, and there you go. We got $36.60 now. So it looks much better, right? So that's that. Let's actually fix this. I don't like the way this looks. Here we go. So that should make it at least look a little bit cleaner. All right. So there you go. Total bill amount was, let's say, $188.32. What percentage would you like to give? I'm gonna say 18. And how many people would you like to split the bill? We're gonna say 6, and there you go, $37.04 per each person. So guys, that's pretty much it. That is how you actually create this. Very simple, but you just have to kind of think about, especially when it comes to percentage stuff. And that's what I wanted to do. Actually, I wanted to get you guys to actually do this percentage thing, because that's just, it takes a little bit of thinking, right? Just a little bit, but it's a good problem to solve. And like, you know, when you actually use these skills that you've learned, you learn it much better. So let me know if you have any questions about this. As always, you can actually access the files. I'm going to, since this is a final project, I'm going to leave you the initial project, the initial empty file that you can fork on the Replit, and also I'm going to leave you the final complete project as well, so you can actually play with that as well. So let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'll see you in the next lesson.